My love, the professor, and I spent several days this week discussing the details of what we endured in the labyrinth of glass. Each of us had a deep fear or challenge to face before we were allowed to pass. We discovered, upon our return to the main level of the manor, that we had spent a great deal more time in the maze than we thought. Though we could see the moon from the gaping escapement created by Visago's exit, it wasn't until the gargoyles carried us up above that I could make out the faint signs of impending daylight. We'd been underground for nearly 7 hours, and the wordsmith still has not been released from the library. Communication with Visago has become easier since his release. During the hours spent with him, I've learned to understand his older dialect of gargoyle speech. I was able to talk with him about the events that transpired in the labyrinth. Just as with the other gargoyles, he called our tasks tests of destiny, though Visago's context included the three of us. He has been most patient with my many questions. Apparently, the shadow wave was occupying the sarcophagus just outside Visago's tomb, having been placed there as a sentinel by the great scientist Darius Staten himself. He was released the moment a Steamlander, Professor Brassthorn in this case, crossed the threshold of Epitaph Manor. This was the test set for the individual whose coming was foretold. If the Steamlander survived the first test, then Visago could make himself known, changes to the manor would be activated, and the challenges for the three of us could begin. He explained that once we three crossed the crest of Darius Staten, the locks on his tomb were released and he could be free. Visago has pledged his services to the manor. It is his home, and he holds the Lord, Professor, Wordsmith, and I in great esteem. It will be interesting to learn what the future holds in store for us. It is troublesome, though, that the likes of Visago will be necessary for what may lie ahead.
My love, there has been a break in the Sky Wolves' defenses. Would you please join me for a vantage point on the field of battle? The professor is due to arrive soon. It is time to take advantage of the opportunity to oversee the gargoyles' progress as they combat the wolves of the sky.
Serenity Radio is listening to you.
The Sky Wolves have begun their siege. It is time to prepare, my lady. They don't seem content with biting at our heels any longer. I do not pretend to understand the senselessness of this attack on our home. They seem to have appeared shortly after we released Visago.
Do you think this was the reason behind his release?
We cannot be sure, but if it is, then we may be facing a long and terrible battle. Do not fear, the manor walls are strong. We will survive this. The gargoyles have risen and the manor will prevail.
Yes, and in the short time of his release, the manor gargoyles have taken to Visago as their general. It's as if they have a deep connection to him.
I have heard them talking about his release. They are saying that we have proven our rightful inheritance to the manor.
From what I have gathered, they already felt that we were worthy of their loyalty, but releasing him proved to them that we were more than mere inhabitants of the dwelling. They now respect us as equals to them. Having treated them with kindness and not seen them as mere ghastly beasts, this has put us in high regards to the gargoyles.
Epitaph Manor, come in. This is Professor Brassthorn of the Dream Strider. Emergency frequency. Do you read?
We hear you, Professor.
What's going on down there? There's cannon fire all over. I can see at least 6 airships all flying to Jolly Roger. It's a mess trying to navigate the airspace around the manor. All I can make out is smoke and corpses. Is everyone all right?
We are thriving on our battleground. The children are safe inside the inner sanctum. Wordsmith is still trapped in the library. No telling when the manor will release him. You'll need to make your way to the south waterway. You'll be able to land the Dream Strider behind the waterfall. It's a tight fit, so be alert.
What about all this cannon fire? Those ships will try and bring me down if I attempt navigating through them.
Fear not, Professor. The gargoyles will aid in your approach.
Those are ballistic-class war guns on those ships. The gargoyles will get knocked from the skies in a matter of...
You still underestimate the abilities of them. Start your landing. They will protect you as much as possible.
Very well. I see them converging on the ship, commencing final approach.
We will meet you at the South Waterway. Good to see you again.
It's good to be back at the manor, but I'm beginning to think this place is a magnet for danger.
The events that have occurred in the last few weeks are not of normal. We have our bouts of problems and conflicts, but nothing of this nature or frequency.
I see the gargoyles did well at protecting your landing. Hopefully there isn't too much damage to the airship.
The gargoyles were amazing. I saw several take direct hits from the cannons. They went down and hit the landscape only to fly right back into formation just as fast. Several even knocked cannon shot from the sky with a swipe of their mighty claws.
They are beings of great power. Though I am curious as to why you did not take the Dreamstrider into the thick of battle. You are a captain of an airship, are you not?
No offense, my lord, but you are truly misguided in your thoughts. I'm not a captain. I'm a scientist. And while the Dreamstrider is a ship of unparalleled creation, it is not designed for air battle. It is a science vessel. While it has armaments aboard, I assure you, they are for defensive applications only. Plus, I don't like the title of captain. After all, how is one a captain of a floating laboratory?
I understand, Professor. The realm does not have such science vessels. They are either warships or transports for goods and people. I can see why you wouldn't want to put your ship at risk.
If only those who seek to harm the Dreamstrider knew what she was made of, they would certainly think twice to pillage and plunder her. It could spell global disaster for the realm if she were ever compromised.
I felt something unusual about that ship the moment I saw it.
While on my final approach, from my spyglass it looked as if you were communicating from the turret. How is that possible? I was under the impression that the Octopus Lounge of Epitaph Manor was where the transmission equipment was located.
The Octopus Lounge received your signal and dispatched one of its temporal tendrils to locate us instantly.
Temporal tendrils?
Yes, the tendrils bear a resemblance to sentient tentacles stretching through the manor from the Octopus Lounge. The glowing orbs at the end have receptors that work much like a telephone on Earth. But instead of using digitized waves, it is biomechanical, almost like an eardrum and vocal cords.
It was engineered by Darius Staten. He figured out how to extend the lounge's transmissions through this system.
Speaking of which, the children's jack-o'-lanterns work on a similar concept, except for theirs are rooted more in magic. I have had time to inspect the jack-o'-lanterns a little closer. Though they were created by the children, they have their own language. They can talk to each other and work as a communication device. It's not like they are sending and receiving digital waves to each other, but they are mimicking the person who is talking to it and merely talking to the other jack-o'-lantern in the same voice. The other jack-o'-lantern then repeats the mimic, thus creating the illusion of a two-way transmission. So far, we have not found a limit to the distance they can talk to each other. Funny side effect of the children's magical prowess. And now it gives us a wonderful latticework of communication throughout the manor.
So, the manor finally released you from the library.
After reading more books than I care to remember, I found what it wanted me to see. Honestly, though, I think the manor got tired of waiting for me to find it. I had to dodge to the book when it went sailing off the top shelf.
Doesn't look like you moved fast enough. You should let me clean that.
It looks worse than it feels. It's just a small gash. You know how head wounds tend to bleed way more than they should. Anyway, it's fine now.
So, what did the manor want from me?
Let me get right to it. I have to go.
What do you mean? Do you have any idea what's going on out there? The Sky Wolves are everywhere.
I heard. The gargoyles filled me in when I was released.
You speak their language?
Understand it. It's actually a fairly straightforward language. Just don't ask me to try using it, I wasn't built to speak some languages.
Knowing what's out there, why would you risk leaving?
It's not what I want, lady. It's what I have to do.
The Manor does have some entrances and exits known to us that can bypass the wolves and let you leave unseen. But I want to know why before we show you. There is still a risk your departure will be noticed by them, meaning we will have to seal that entrance once you are gone, giving us one less emergency exit, and I would rather not do that unless it was absolutely necessary.
Under the circumstances, you know I wouldn't even ask if it weren't.
Then what is it?
I have to fix a problem I created.
Explain?
You aren't giving me a choice in this, are you?
None.
Very well, then.
Then sit. I may as well tend to that injury while you're at it.
No choice on that either.
None.
I wouldn't argue with her.
Very well.
So, Wordsmith, what is the reason for your sudden departure?
Professor, you're not from here, so you're not as familiar with the war as the Lord and Lady.
The War of Western Nations, the war that created the Milnara Empire. You all have mentioned it in passing.
Yes, but if I'm to explain this, then you need to know more than that. You have to know how it ended, which means I have to tell you some of how it all started.
Go on, please. I always welcome the chance for more knowledge.
The West had once been divided into 3 nations. Alabastine, the home of the 10 provinces ruled by the Lord High Mages. Silstein, ruled by the Druids of the Silst Circle. And Milnar, ruled by the Sinaz monarchy for 3 centuries. Ow, what in the name of...
Stop whining and quit squirming. This is worse than you said.
It was a very big book.
I'll have to seal the wound.
Why don't you just use your spells instead of whatever that stuff is then? Burns like the 12th spell of Ormar the Ashless.
Ormar?
A mage who thought he could control the flames of the sun. He cast a spell that so completely incinerated him that there weren't even any ashes left.
I see.
Now, Ember, I told you to quit moving. And before you go protesting again, if you haven't noticed, there are scores of werewolves outside the manor, so I need to conserve my spell casting. We have a respite here, which means you're getting mundane treatment. That salve may burn at first, but soon it'll numb the area, and you're going to be thankful for it when I start sewing it shut.
Great.
Please, finish your explanation.
Yes, lady.
The war?
Yes, the war. The short story is that it originally began as a war between Alabastine and Silstein. The Lord High Mages were destroying their own lands in their quest for more power and deadlier magic. When this began bleeding into the lands of the Druids took action to get them to stop. That shortly led to war, and that war lasted for 2 decades. Milnar did everything in our power to avoid being dragged into it. But near the end of that 2nd decade, their war began spilling over into our country. With our citizens being killed because of their skirmishes near our borders, Amara Sinaz decided it was time for us to step in and put a stop to it.
As I understand it, the war didn't last much longer after the Milnar entered.
And that's where I caused the current problem.
You lost me there.
I know Milnar ended the war in a little over a year, and you lost me too. How did you cause this problem you're referring to?
Shortly after we met, when we were tracking the Lord High Mage Tosin, I explained my gift to you and the lady. I believe you shared some of what I told you with the professor.
They did. Your words become your reality.
In a way, you are correct, though I do have limitations.
How do you mean?
I write out what I wish to happen and then focus on the page. If it is a small alteration to reality, it leaves me weak but still functioning. If it's a major change and I'm not careful, I could literally drain myself and cause my own death.
Even your talent has its price.
Exactly.
What did you do?
I ended the war.
Why would you enact such a dramatic effect? Didn't you realize the sweeping implications such a change would cause?
I did.
And yet you still did it.
Just because you can do something, Ember, doesn't mean you should.
I know this. I know it well. I knew it then as well as I know it now.
And yet you still did it.
I believe you've already said that, my lord.
Some things deserve repeating.
Are you saying you wrote an ending to the war? Why would you do that? Was Milnar losing?
No, in fact, we were winning.
And yet you still did it.
My lord.
Just wanted to make certain the enormity of the stupidity sinks in.
Don't you think I already know this? Don't you realize I've spent the better part of the past 18 years trying to affix the effects?
And yet,
I get the point.
good.
You still haven't said why you took this drastic action.
Mars and I consulted 8 different oracles, clairvoyants and seers. I personally scanned hundreds of prophecies in books and ancient scrolls, and the majority of them all agreed on these facts. The War of the 3 Western nations was going to take nearly 3 decades. The lands would be devastated, and when it finally ended, the cost in lives would be staggering. It would have taken another century for the population and land to recover, and by that time, the Western Catril nation would be a land of bloodbaths and human cattle. And that, Lord Epitaph, is why I did it.
How could you end a war that would have taken so long so quickly? If I correctly understand the physics of what you're saying about your gift, then I can only surmise that such a drastic change should have killed you. The price of your action.
It nearly did. I was unconscious for a week, and it took a month to recover enough to walk again.
So, what was it exactly that you did?
I met with Amaris's generals, reviewed the information our spies in Alabastine were sending, and studied the battles of the past year to fully understand what we were up against. It turns out the Lord High Mages were without peer in their nation. However, they were lousy generals. It didn't take long to pinpoint the men that they most relied upon to win their battles. Once I was able to uncover their routes, I inserted a few decisions that set into motion the downfall of their nation. A couple of detours in the right place, the choice of an improper mount, and failing in selecting the proper battleground was all it took for everything in Alabastine to start falling apart. Without their trusted generals on hand, the Lord High Mages committed when they shouldn't have, were willing to sacrifice too many troops for insignificant targets, and generally mucked up every important choice during such a relatively short period of time that it didn't take much to rout their entire military. Seeing how quickly Alabastine fell apart, Silstein quickly surrendered, and before you knew it, the Lord High Mages began abandoning their provinces in their mad rush to save their own skins.
Those all sound like small pushes, bringing about major changes. It's not as if you actually wrote "end the war" and focused on that. So again, your price seems incongruous to the action.
A few of those events had already happened. I had to rewrite history to ensure our victory.
Do you realize the consequences of doing such a thing?
And that's the reason I will never do it again. I'm still trying to fix what I can.
There are powers other than those in the realm who will not be pleased with you.
I understand this as well, and I am as prepared as I can be to face them when they come looking for me. I know they eventually will.
And what about the powers within the realm?
Including you 3, 8 people know the true extent of my gift. Only 5 know what I've done. I hope to keep it limited to that.
Your trust is safe with us.
Agreed.
Very well. Now, about the problem you mentioned.
If the war had continued, the Lord High Mages would have eventually been captured or killed. Since the war turned on them so abruptly, they scattered. You and the lady helped me defeat one of them. One surrendered before the war ended, and 2 others have since been hunted down by the Empire. Roughly 12 years ago, one of those who escaped crossed to the east via the Great Chasm route, descended the western escarpment, forded the river, and then found a path up the eastern side. It's this route that he took that caused the problem before us.
Are you looking to find the man now?
He can wait.
Then what?
The library showed me what happened. Within the Great Chasm there exists a tomb, unmarked and hidden. That tomb houses an evil even the vampire of Catril fear. At least those smart enough to know they should. The creature held within is a soul parasite, an ancient vampire that lives off the very life force of its prey.
I have heard of these creatures. If one takes your life, it destroys you completely, feeding not upon your blood, but your very soul. Its victims are entirely obliterated from the continuum.
Are you implying this creature still exists?
Trapped within that tomb, sealed in with enchanted locks that prevent it from getting free.
I'm getting a very bad feeling where this is leading. Anyone else?
Aye.
Yes, my lord. A young one of these creatures is difficult to deal with, an ancient one near impossible.
It took 16 mages of varying specialties to stop it. This was centuries ago, long before the Lord High Mages divided Alabastine into 10 provinces, when that nation lived in peaceful coexistence with its neighbors. Those mages not only stopped the creature, they were the ones who imprisoned it and created the locks. According to the book the manor threw at me, the descendants of those mages were the caretakers of the tomb. The men and women who maintained the keys and ensured the enchantments continued to hold so the creature wouldn't escape.
Were?
The words in that book were literally rewriting themselves as I read. I suppose it was the manor's way of showing me what I caused. The history of the caretakers being updated to reflect that they are no more.
Your Lord Mage, I take it.
Yes, he and his entourage encountered the caretakers while crossing the chasm. They fought, the caretakers lost. They were powerful, but their numbers weren't what they had been generations ago, and the mage with his cronies overwhelmed them.
Did the High Mage open the tomb?
I doubt it, my lord. A power such as that creature entering the realm would have caused enough chaos that I would have felt something by this point.
You are correct, lady. The High Mage didn't even know of the tomb. He and what was left of his people continued on their journey without ever knowing the entrance was right next to them.
Then what is the actual problem?
Raiders.
Seriously?
I'm afraid so. They found the tomb, broke through the main entrance, and stole the keys that they found. Right now, only half the keys that kept this thing asleep and contained remain. I need to get there and salvage the situation before it awakens and finds out how easily it could break free.
You're right. You have to go.
I hate leaving you in the middle of all you have going on.
But you're right to deal with this. I fear what will happen if that thing gets free.
What of the Raiders?
I have resources in the free cities, men and women in place to assist whenever I need them. I'll go there first, gather all that I can, and then go deal with this. While we're securing the keys that remain, I'll have some of my people track down the raiders who took the others and get them back. With luck, I'll get this resolved before the creature stirs. It's been asleep for centuries, so I doubt it'll wake very quickly.
Very well. We'll furnish you with a squad of gargoyles to escort you to the South Swamp entrance. There, you'll be on your own. You'll need to head northwest to the nearest way station with a rail line. In a time of war, I'm afraid the manor will seal off once you exit. We'll furnish you with traveling equipment and get you on your way.
Take this. It's a jack-o'-lantern. If you need to contact us immediately, simply address Epitaph Manor into the head. This way you can keep correspondence if necessary, and we can call upon you later.
Thank you. I will be on my way soon. I wish you the best of luck in this battle. I am certain you will be triumphant. I may not be here to assist, but I will leave a box of crystals on my bed for you to use as needed. Each crystal is carefully marked with the enchantment it holds, and you will find the activation key in a hidden compartment inside the box's left handle. I do hope it will prove useful during this troubled time. My lord, my lady, Professor, until we meet again, farewell.
Radio.
It's time to discuss strategy. I have made damn sure that these wolves' reckless endeavors will not go unpunished. They've been at the heels of my family, and their blood is just the beginning. I've claimed their fallen dead, and their heads adorn the front of my manor. At Lady Epitaph's request, I have not gathered a single soul. But you see, Professor, we find ourselves in the unique position of where we can hold souls as collateral if we must. It seems the manor, the lady, and my own reputation haven't kept these dogs at bay.
However, it is imperative we resolve this bloodshed soon. I have taken steps to bridge a psychic link with the manor, using the Octopus Lounge as the conduit. It's a very exhaustive ritual, but I am slowly learning to speak to the manor in a way. If any slip up from the espionage tactics of these wolves yield intel we can use to our advantage, I will use it to halt their advances as swiftly as I can. From what we've gathered, they have sacrificed lower-class scouts to hunt and sniff out openings and weaknesses in our fortifications, while the main flagship commands encompassing maneuvers with the other ships around these vulnerable points.
Even commanding vastly powerful air vessels, they still hunt like wolves. We could have ended this last moon phase, but we're still trying to avoid any further casualties. They are combating gargoyles, after all, a foe they've never encountered even in the realm. But there's something about their tactics that troubles me.
What is their trouble?
A wolf in a full moon embrace is nearly invincible, but they fight like they are tired of battle. Weary but stubborn. We can't figure it out. And now, here we are nearly at the new moon, and they are only now deploying their siege vessels, using their flying galleons to grapple line the manor in some petty attempt to pull it apart. Nothing about their attack seems as coordinated as it first appeared. I've ridden on the backs of gargoyles the past few nights, out in open cannon fire, dodging and decapitating my quarry. And I hold their heads still steaming with froth to the flagship and screamed open bloody combat. They only responded with their accursed howling laments. I know they are stronger than this. One does not stand in the face of a werewolf without consequence. Though pirates the lot of them, I still cannot help but search for their honor in battle.
Perhaps we are missing something. I too have felt that there is a sorrow behind their fangs.
Understood. I'm afraid our time is cut short. I must return to battle and help coordinate the attack structure. Leaving the gargoyles to their devices will mean they will seek and destroy all the Sky Wolves before we can gather any answers. The gargoyles are saying that there is something they wish for me to see.
Very well, my lord. I will return to my ritual in the meantime.
I will mend the airship's damage. I have something in the lab that I can put into the forefront of production that might help contribute to our swift victory.
We shall reconvene soon. I'm not used to pulling my punches in the tide of battle, but my patience is dwindling. We need answers. Anything short of waltzing right up to that flagship and confronting the captain of these wolves would be welcome. Honestly, the breath from these pirates is the thing of legend. My lady? Professor?
Earn your brass, my lord.
Let your mind be as sharp as your sword.
His calmness on the field of battle is impressive. He seeks to excel rather than dominate.
He wasn't always like that. With him, it took an understanding woman to help mold and structure him the rest of the way.
I see. So what of this attack? I would like to know your perspective on this.
The wolves have come here for a reason. This is no random attack. We have heard word in the past of them attacking towns and pillaging their remains. Whole villages rendered to ash under their paws, leaving nothing but a wake of terror behind them. It is always unknown as to their motives. We have always surmised that it was more than just a territorial assertion.
Really? I would assume it's not just marking their territory.
Exactly. They are too sporadic and the attacks are not in any kind of geographical consistency. If they were after territory, it would start at a point and work their way outward. The last place we heard they attacked was to the north, between us and the Ascended Lands. Before that was a desert city past the Foglands to the east.
That makes no sense. They seem to be going out of their way to pinpoint random locations. But wolves are known to travel great distances to hunt. Question is, what are they hunting?
They must have known that the manor would not fall so easily as the other townships they have attacked in the past.
What do we know about the locations that were destroyed?
All we know is that for generations they've pillaged and plundered every town and village they have encountered. They have enacted their best violence to ensure that no one is left alive. These townships are left utterly decimated. They take what they please and kill everything in their wake, giving way to legends passed down from the surrounding townships. But so far they have not targeted major kingdoms or anything to assume dominance over a single principality.
Are there any faction of ground-dwelling wolves who might have an allegiance to these pirates?
It is widely known that these wolves in general are exiles, even amongst their own kind. The wolves of the Forest of Aeons are peaceful for the most part, only hunting humans or threatening races who encroach upon their land. I'm by no means an expert, but stories from the Forest Wolves have always asserted that these Sky Wolves are outcasts.
How did they become outcasts? What could have happened in the past that created this rift between them and the Forest Wolves?
No one knows. It was a long time ago and no record is known. The Forest Wolves know, but they do not let outsiders meddle in their affairs.
I wonder why the governments or kingdoms didn't do anything about this. It would seem to me that if they are a nuisance, then someone would step in and put an end to it.
The reigning factions really don't care.
Don't care.
As long as they don't attack anything that they have an interest in, then it doesn't matter to them. Their interests are not in any harm, so what do they care if a few towns and villages are destroyed by a band of wolves?
I see. It comes down to politics. Why has the manor not done anything?
We were not asked to actively seek them out. You have to understand, Professor, that we, the Manor, have to take a position of neutrality. If we get involved in something that we should not, that would put us in an awkward position. The government, factions, whoever involved would see us as a threat, and it is best to stay out of their eyesight.
I see.
That is not to say that we don't have ties with any of them, but we limit ourselves to helping the surrounding townships. We don't want to get involved in politics, not to mention the fact that Epitaph Manor has a beauty that is hard to approach. My love, is everything all right?
What is that you're dragging?
See for yourself.
It's a man. He's bleeding.
Where did he come from? Why is he naked?
It is a werewolf. He fell from the airship that was trying to tear down the East Manor wall. I think one of the gargoyles knocked him unconscious, and his lupine embrace has receded, revealing the man underneath.
I should tend his wounds.
Wait. With your permission, I would like to take a sample of his blood. I can use it for research. This may be a once-in-a-lifetime chance to learn a little bit more about them on a scientific level.
Go ahead, Professor.
He looks normal enough. Of average height, in decent shape. No broken bones. I don't understand why his wound is still bleeding. It should have healed itself. Look at these inkings. Whoever did these is a good artist. It tells of great stories.
Look closer at the one on his left arm.
I am getting an ancient, powerful feeling of that. That was not put there by an artist. It was branded by magic. It's a seal.
We have to interrogate him. This may be our only chance.
You're right. The cannon fire has ceased.
What are you saying? Gargoyle, take him to the Blood Baroness's torture gallery and restrain him thoroughly. We are going to have to deal with him later. My lady, Professor, please join me on the turret. We have to see this.
I know the gargoyles will be more than enough to restrain the wolf, but you do understand that he will not talk. I have yet to see a wolf that would not die before betraying his own pack.
That is for later debate. Right now we have something traversing the bridge. Professor, would you please lend me your spyglass?
Certainly.
What is it?
It's a small wolf pup, dressed in the Armada garb of the higher command.
How did he get there amongst all this?
It explains why the ship cannons went silent. The gargoyles are saying that he wishes audience with us. Let's make our way down to the front of the manor. Gargoyles, please carry us to the bridge. State your business, pup.
My captain has sent me to deliver a message to you.
You seem nervous.
It must have been hard for you to walk up here. A child so young should not have to endure the sight of his comrades in such a manner.
Your captain insults me by sending a child.
I have heard the legends of the Epitaph and the Cursed Manor. You are all demons of the flesh of mortals. You walk in the graves of your fallen and keep their souls for amusement. Anyone who crosses the path of Lord Epitaph is doomed to servitude of steel.
That's quite a boast.
Do not fear, little one. We will not harm you.
My captain sent me to deliver a message.
Give that to me, boy. How dare you deliver this to me?
What does it say?
How dare you deliver a man of surrender to me? Your captain is gravely mistaken if he thinks...
My lord, you are scaring the young pup.
My apologies, my love. Regardless of what the stories you have heard, young ones, we are not in the habit of killing children, wolf or otherwise. Your captain, on the other hand, seems to think differently about children. I am sure he has noticed we have taken our best efforts to avoid casualties. The heads that adorn my gates should have been the decisive warning to your foolish assault.
How can he have the audacity to present a surrender when the manor is not even in his possession?
Perhaps this is the captain's way of saying that he wishes this siege to end. Brash, but understandable.
Who is the captain of your fleet?
My father, Captain Ulrich.
Your father? And he sent you personally? Why? Because he thought I would take pity by using a child
My
as a...
lord.
Very well. This will be the message you will deliver to your captain. Your loyalty to your pack is admirable, pup, but do not forget your pack started this conflict. Call to your fleet and have them watch as we demonstrate Epitaph's might. Gargoyles, target that ship, rend its sails from its keel, and sink those wolves into the sea. And do not kill them. Allow the pirates to escape their sinking ship. You mark my words, pup. We shall end this. Tell your captain I wish to hold audience with him personally. Surrender is out of the question, but I will have talks to negotiate a ceasefire. Now be gone.